welcome to the A Bit of AI show with your hosts, Henk and Amy.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the third A Bit of AI show with myself, Henk Boelman, and Amy Boyd. We both work at Microsoft as cloud advocates in the AI space. Hey Amy, good morning. How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Just want to say hi to everyone. Thank you for joining us again. Our third episode, how exciting. And yeah, really excited to talk to our guests today. I think demystifying these AI roles is exciting.
Exactly, because we in our jobs meet so many people from around the globe. And this show is really about showing and what people in the AI space do and what type of skill sets are needed when you're building an AI solution. And I think that is from actually, it starts all with pre sales, maybe recruiting, up to consultancy, and to people that actually lead the teams and create the deep neural networks and run them in production, like we saw in the first episode. So, in this episode, we're going to talk to Willem about his life in AI, and we are having some really cool AI Learn modules this week. And before we forget, you're going to say that, Amy.
Yeah, nice. I wanted to take this one in today's show, but don't forget that after this show, we only have 30 minutes with you. And so what we wanted to do was actually have that kind of like connection zone where we can sit and chat. You can ask us questions. You'll probably want to ask Willem questions more than you'll want to ask us questions. But we've called it a Bit AI Cafe, and it's a friendly Teams meeting where, yeah, we can all just stay connected for 30 minutes after the show. So hopefully you can join us there if you go to ak.ms/a-bit-of-ai-cafe.
Nice. So let's not wait any longer and get Willem into the show.
Wow, hey, good morning.
Hey. Morning. How are you doing?
Yeah, pretty good this morning. It's nice outside. I mean, it's getting sunny. It's a bit foggy in the Netherlands, but yeah, that will clear up during the day, I hope.
Yeah, no, we've had the same here in the UK. It's starting to get brighter, which is quite nice. It's not necessarily any warmer, but it's certainly brighter, so that's always good. It's a good start.
It's the small things.
It is the small things. It is the small things. Welcome to the show, Willem. Thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, we've all worked together. I'm sure many people from the global AI community recognise us three in the same space. So this is it's brilliant to have you on the show. I guess let's kick things off straight away with Willem. Tell us who you are and what do you do in the AI space.
So I'm Willem Meints. I've been doing AI for quite a long time, 9 years now. Back in the day, it wasn't as cool as it is now, I have to say, and it's a lot easier too. My daily job is actually, I'm sort of an AI architect. I used to run the global AI community. People might know me from that. I had to step back a little bit for my own sanity and health. But I'm very, very happy with what they are doing now because a lot of people jumped in and helped me out get the community up and running again. And so while that was happening, I was just relaxing for a little bit, and I'm currently back doing AI stuff from an architecture standpoint rather than what I used to do. So I used to build models. I even wrote a book about it, deep learning. If anybody remembers that, it's a while ago. So yeah, that's my job.
Oh, fabulous. AI architect, love it. I actually think that's a new role for the show. So 3 out of 3 completely different roles on every single show. So that's really, really good. Definitely not designed that way. So yeah, really, really exciting. I guess, Willem, love the piece around the community. I know you're very active in the community. We might get a chance to chat with you a little bit about learning. But I guess one of our key questions that we always start with is, what does a day in your role look like? The average day. What do you actually get up to as an architect?
So Yeah, let me tell you a little bit of an example, actually. I think that best gives you a picture of what I'm doing on a daily basis. So one of the projects that I'm working on currently is a system that we're designing to help in the diagnosis of Parkinson's disease. And that's quite a heavy project. We have a few terabytes of data collected from people in the hospital. And one of the things that I do in this project is actually think about how do you set up a machine learning platform that's scalable and keeps on running even if we throw bad things at it, which can happen. Sometimes the training run gets out of whack and we have a crashed machine and we have to recover that. Sometimes the graphics card doesn't want to cooperate, that sort of stuff. So I mainly focus on the non-functional requirements in that space. So what sort of graphics card do you need to train a model? How much disk space do you need to actually store those models and data sets? But I also care a lot about doing AI safely. So responsible AI is a top of mind thing for me. Model fairness, and in this case also combating bias. As we know, colored images, people have different colors, and we have a lot of people that have a lighter skin color and not a lot of people that have a darker skin color. So that's a challenge for us. And that's where I help guide the team to solve those problems.
Wonderful.
So it's a lot of
I was going to say
background work, I would say. Yeah.
No, perfect. It's I guess it just shows the breadth of an architecture role in general, right? You have to really turn your hand to then most things. Like you were talking a bit about hardware, a bit about responsible AI, a bit about the actual models as well. We know you're an expert in that space. Speaking of the book, Henk, we should pop that on our website. So the kind of breadth of your knowledge, do you find yourself having to learn a lot as you're going through these projects, or is it stuff from experience that you're finding?
Some of the stuff is from experience. I've been doing this for a long time, so I can dig up old things, and maybe the technology changed over the years, but the principle is the same. I do have a lot of experience in software engineering as well, so that helps a lot, because AI is not only about the models, it's also about proper software engineering, so DevOps pipelines, infrastructure as code, all the modern stuff that a regular software developer does is also involved in AI. That makes it extra complicated. But there's also a lot of new stuff, so the deep learning space is changing all the time, so I will have to keep on learning. And luckily, I don't do this alone. I do this with a couple of experts. So I've got two colleagues currently helping out, and they are experts in the field of computer vision. So they sometimes they show me a paper and I read that, and that gives me enough information. Sometimes I do experiments myself. I do try to use deep learning still because I love it on the one hand, and on the other hand, I think it gives me an edge as architect to know how to build a model, actually. So yeah, it's a bit of experience, a bit of learning new stuff. It varies between projects.
So I have a follow-up question for that. So you're working as an architect on that project. Who else are involved in that project? Which other roles do you have to work with to actually deliver the product?
So for this project, we have a couple of researchers from the University of Nijmegen, a Dutch university very active in healthcare and in medical science. Those people do research assignments. So they don't build production code, but they do research on the same environment as we run production code. Then from the side of info support where I work for, we have a data scientist working on the models and making sure that's production ready. And we do have a couple of software engineers working on actually building the API that accepts the data for making predictions using the model. So it's a combination of DevOps engineers and AI researchers and one or two data scientists. Currently, there's only one, but I expect to get more on that project. Actually, it's a pretty large thing to work on. So.
Cool. So the end result of your project is delivering the API.
Yeah, so there's actually two goals to this project. On the one hand, we like to support research in this area. I think it's very valuable that doctors can keep on researching while they work. And on the other hand, we want to enable the knowledge that they gained for other people in the world. So in this case, you can imagine that someone in Africa doesn't have the same resources as we do in Europe. And the idea here is that by using a machine learning model, we gather up all the experience that they have in Nijmegen and in other places in Europe, and in Australia actually is also involved, and bundle that in a model. So that can be used by a doctor who doesn't have access to the same people and the same resources, can still do the best he can or she can to diagnose a patient and help those patients. And that's so great about this project.
Interesting. That is really
That's
cool.
very cool. Let's chat a little bit about responsible AI, because you kind of brought it up. I know you do a lot in this space. I know you share a lot with the community as well. How do you do responsible AI within your team? How does that work? Is it obviously it's got many areas to it, I'm sure.
Yeah, there's a ton of areas to it. So and it's not all ready to go and amazing yet. It's a very new development. We've seen last year during the Build conference, I actually got to chat to a couple of scientists working on this space. We talked about Fair Learn. Well, we use that on a daily basis. But for computer vision, it's quite hard to apply. So that's one of the challenges that we still face. Other things that we do look at bias in data sets. So it's sort of an iterative process, if you will. We start with the small things. So if we have a tool that we can apply to adjust small things in our model to make it better, less biased, more fair, more robust also. I've seen some hacking attempts breaking deep learning models, so that's interesting. And we try to improve continuously. So we build a first version, we apply best practices for bias detection and fairness, then we deploy it in production and we keep on monitoring that model. And then we go back and we manually research the data and figure out what's going on, what sort of predictions are they firing off against that model. And that gives us a picture of, of course, we trained that model on a certain data set, but reality catches up with us, so it changes. And the thing we do is by monitoring the model and storing the predictions also, we can detect the difference between the data set that we use for training and the data set that we use for predicting. And essentially, you're capturing prediction drift. Almost, the model is drifting away from reality. And we're constantly updating the model to make sure that doesn't happen too much. It still happens, but not too much. And that way we can be sure that it's at least as safe as we can make it. It's never going to be perfect, that's for sure. But yeah, that's how we do that currently. And it's embedded in our development process too. We have a whole guidance document for machine learning projects. It's I believe a 13-chapter long document by now. I could turn it into a book actually. And it explains to people working on the project how to actually do responsible AI with tools, with links to blog posts, with videos, all that stuff, just to make sure that people know how to do it. And that helps.
Yeah, I feel
it's getting better.
Yeah. I feel like we're seeing a theme when we speak about responsible AI, and something you just said then like triggered me. I had like deja vu, which was reading and sharing and learning seems to be currently the best way. Like if we're doing something and it works, share it. If we're doing something and it doesn't work, share it. Like, and everyone kind of gets is able to level up then around the responsible AI area.
Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned failure. I actually like to say embrace failure. If you fail at a deep learning project or a regular machine learning project, that's an opportunity to learn something new. And it's more effective to learn from a failure than from something that succeeded in this field. So we quite like that at InfoSupport. So we have frequent meetings with data scientists where we talk about what are we doing, what happened actually in production when our model failed. And that's really important. That's helping us get better at this. Because we're certainly not there. AI is way too new for that.
Wonderful. And Henk, I know you have our question of the show, isn't it? Our slightly controversial question.
Yes. And it's going to be interesting because Willem already told that failure is not... he just talked about failure, so that can't be the answer. that machine learning projects failed. So the question is, what is the most annoying thing about your role in AI?
Oh man, there's only one thing, and that's data quality. I loathe it. It's
Oh,
evil. I don't know what we're doing in production. Why? It's sort of torture almost. So one of the hardest things in AI is getting the right data into your model. And it sounds so easy. Just grab a database from production and pull it into your machine learning environment, and you're up and going. It doesn't work that way, sadly. Not even close, I think. So, going back to this project for the diagnosis of Parkinson's disease, we had to gather up new videos for our first experiment. And lo and behold, they have these videos on DVDs in a shoebox somewhere. And we don't know how to read those DVDs, actually. So it's pretty exciting how that's going to fly. Another good example is if you look at a database in production, and I think we've all been there, those are pretty much crap. ERP systems, CRM systems, those are just so bad. I mean, you try to find one customer and suddenly 17 copies of that customer turn up, and you don't know which one is the right one to get. And this is why I find that the most difficult and the most problematic area of AI. And sadly, we spend 80% of the time in that. So it's like, yeah, I'm just happy I'm an architect and I have data engineers to help me, to be perfectly honest with you.
I was going to say, I'm glad that you've mentioned the 80-20 split of how much time you spend on data processing versus the exciting part that we all enjoy, I think, which is the actual building of the model and
that's what we talk about. I mean,
system.
When we talk about cool demos at Microsoft conferences, at global AI community events, at local events, it's all about the last 20% of the work. And that's pretty cool. But I also think that, so the 80% is sometimes pure torture and really hard to get solved. But at the same time, once you get there, you're so excited about the end result, you completely forget about the 80%, and it's fine. And also, we get better at this. I've seen some pretty great developments in the area of feature stores, actually. Those are stores where you can store pre-processed machine learning features, completely documented. You know who's responsible for that, where it comes from, statistics, everything is included. And that's a good development. We also see a lot of tools around data quality monitoring. So Azure Synapse is one of those samples that pops up in my mind. It's getting better. So I'm positive about the future, but we're not there yet. It's quite hard work for the data engineers. Don't worry about your job. We'll keep you.
Amazing. Well, what we would like to do, Willem, is move on to a segment we call our quickfire questions round. So in the next 5 minutes, we're going to talk to you about 5 different quickfire questions in which we want you to basically just come the first thing that you think of when we ask that question. So Willem has not been prepped for these questions. This is live on air. And that is kind of one of the key things about this is finding patterns across our guests where there's similarities and differences. So me and Henk will ask you a question one by one, and we'll just try to keep the answer as short as possible. Okay, so first question, Willem. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Whatever.
You're ready. So, what was your first programming language?
Oh, QBasic.
What programming language was used in the last project you worked on?
C#.
Ah, interesting. That is interesting. A surprise, a new answer. Okay, so what was the last thing you learnt in AI? And if possible, keep it to about a sentence.
Oh, I learned about using transformers in NLP models. It's a totally new thing.
Very nice.
Well, it's not
Nice.
entirely new,
We had an NLP answer actually, I think, from Terry in our first episode. So that's interesting. Text is still the thing. Still the thing.
Cool. Favorite event in the AI calendar?
Oh, That's a hard one. Global AI Bootcamp, it must be that. I mean, yeah.
It's got to be
I'm,
right.
I'm honestly looking forward to that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, bootcamp's fun. Okay, final question. You're doing a brilliant job, Willem. What area of AI is on your list to skill up on next? So what's the next thing in AI you want to learn?
Yeah, actually, information retrieval using deep learning. That's one of the areas that I find very interesting at the moment. Yeah, it's something. So they've been
Nice.
transforming search engines into machine learning models, and it's quite exciting. So I'm looking forward to that, to diving into that a bit more.
Yeah, that's
Hank is
brilliant. We
Googling
are
quickly. What's that?
well typing into our document just here. We are changing the format of the show on the fly. Hank, have you got another question by any chance?
Yes, we have. So I'm interested what training framework you used last.
Oh, the last one I used was TensorFlow, and
Okay, good
yeah,
stuff.
it's just a standard thing, I think. If we're talking about training frameworks, PyTorch could be the other one, but I'm biased towards TensorFlow at the moment. Yeah.
That's cool. Also, this is now not our 5-question quickfire round. In the future, it's going to be a 6 questions quickfire round because that was a really good question out, Hank. Nice one. Nice one. Oh, amazing. I guess, Willem, we are already getting close to time on our chat with you. We kind of always end our guest talk with what advice do you have to someone getting into the AI space?
Oh, yeah, find a group of people to work with. I mean, there's one constant factor that I've learned from my work in the global AI community is that having a group of people who cheer you on in this journey is the best you can have. There's a lot of free material online, but it's all very hard to understand, and we all know this because we've all been there. So learning AI, it takes a long time. Even after 8 years, I can still say I'm learning every day. But it's cool to have a group of people who can point you towards a good solution, or maybe have some videos that you can watch, or just help you debug the thing that you're building. That's great. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your time, Willem. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. And obviously, you are online quite a lot. You're always sharing content. So please, everyone, check out Willem on social media, all the great blogs he writes and stuff like that. And yeah, keep in touch.
Thanks, and
Yes,
good luck.
All right.
Are you going to be in the AI cafe?
Absolutely. Yeah. I will be there. I'm happy to answer any questions that people might have. I may not be able to help you debug your code, but we'll figure something out.
Nice. Then we talk to you a bit later in the AI cafe. The link
Thank you very
is
much.
on top of our website, or it is ak.ms/a-bit-of-ai-cafe. Yes, so let's move on to next. We always have a list of events that are upcoming and are nice to maybe attend. So I don't have a list of upcoming events, but I have a list of events that have opened CFPs. So that also might be interesting if you want to submit a paper, and these events are likely to be in person again because they're end of the year. So thumbs up. So that is NDC Oslo, that is Build Stuff, and that is AI Live in Orlando, which is a great conference if you want to learn about programming and the AI space and machine learning, cognitive services, and chatbots, and so on. So, Amy, it's time for our Learn module.
Yes. Often the most exciting part of my week is picking our Learn modules after speaking with our guests. So me and Hank always have a quick chat with our guests before the show, just to really, dig into what they do so that we can get some great questions to you. But through that, we can also often find passions. And so we connect our guest to our learning challenge. And so this week, I've got 3 modules for you. So a little bit of extra learning. We normally try to keep it to 2, but it felt like it was the right thing to do. So first one's first, Willem is someone who actively is building models as well as that whole piece of architecture. And so that end-to-end system made me think of the Azure Machine Learning Service. So what I've put in there is just how to get started, how to train your model learning with Azure Machine Learning. And then the other 2 are actually related to the topic around responsible AI that Willem mentioned. So he was fortunate at Build to actually be chatting with some of the people who were building this kind of technology. And so I wanted to fit these 2 technologies in. So the first module is Explain Machine Learning Models with Azure Machine Learning. So that's some of our explainability and interpret ML pieces. And then we've actually got the Detect and Mitigate Unfairness in Models with Azure Machine Learning as a module. And that was that Fair Learn piece that Willem just mentioned as well, which I was really happy about that he mentioned it live, because then I was like, oh, perfect, I chose that module. So we always put these into a challenge called a Cloud Skills Challenge. So if you want to go ahead and take these challenges, go to aka.ms/abitofai-learn, or check it out on the website abitofai.show, and you'll be able to grab the links from there. Amazing. So Henk, already we've come to the end, as we always do. So to close us out, I just want to say thank you so much, as always, for joining us today. This is our 3rd show. We are always trying to improve. If there's anything you think would be really interesting to see on the show, please get in touch. We are on Twitter and we're on LinkedIn, we're on Facebook. Just come find us on the internet, abitofai.show. We are here every Thursday. That's 10 a.m. CET, 2:30 IST, and 8 p.m. over in AEDT. Daylight saving. Yes, there's been changes of clocks recently, so do tell us if we are slightly out of sync on any of our timings. And then do come and join us in our A Bit of AI cafe. So the whole idea of the cafe is meeting up informally, chat with myself and Henk, or probably more likely you want to chat with our guests. So come and chat with me, Willem, and Henk in our AI cafe. So go to aka.ms/abitofai-cafe, or it's at the top of the website. If you want to rewatch this episode or any of our previous ones, go to abitofai.show, which is our website. And with that, Henk, any final words for this episode?
No, I hope to see you all in the cafe. Thanks so much for joining us today.
All right. Thank you, everyone. And we'll see you for the next A Bit of AI show with Henk and Amy.